and welcome to this episode of The Earl Hall Show. We've got a great guest for you today. I have the pleasure of speaking with an incredible guest, Melanie D. Phillips, MBA. She's a 2 times, if not more, best-selling author, publisher, accomplished ghostwriter, and sought-after speaker. As the visionary founder of Strengthen the Bond, Melanie is dedicated to helping mothers and daughters connect, heal, and celebrate each other. Known as the Life Shift Coach, she guides individuals through the challenges of divorce with her transformative framework. Can't wait to hear about that. Faith, forgiveness, fear, finance, fitness, family, friends, and future. Her mission? To inspire healing, growth, and purposeful living. Get ready for an insightful conversation with someone who's changing lives and strengthening families, Melanie D. Phillips. Welcome to the Earl Hall Show, and thank you so much for being here.
Earl. Thank you so much for even having me on. I am so honored to be part of your show. Thank you.
Well, I mean, the pleasure and honor is right here too, just to have you on. You know, I've seen that you're obviously doing a lot of things. You're wearing a lot of hats. When I was doing, just some research on you and was going through your Facebook page, which was kind of ironic for me, I saw something that I was like, you know what, I think there's a story behind this, so I'm going to ask the question. But on January 27th, you made a post and you said, "Good morning, all. Know that no one can rescue you like the healed version of you can." What happened? Something was going on that morning. Tell me about what happened with that.
You know what? That goes back to my organization, Strengthen the Bond, where I bring mothers and daughters together. So a lot of times, mothers and daughters, they may be at odds with each other. They may be going through a turbulent time. And if we don't, mothers or daughters, if they don't get what they need, then they cannot help anyone else. They can't even basically have a relationship with anyone else. A lot of times mothers, and especially if the mother, depend on the generation, they may have heard a lot of what goes on in his house stays in his house, okay?
Yes.
And then you got this new generation that's saying, no, we got to make sure that we talk about some things because it's some stuff that's gone on and you're taking it out on me, or it's some generational curses that's gone on that went with, your mother, then you, and then myself. And it's like, we got to get to the root of it. So I won't pass this down to my child. It could be a plethora of things. So that's what made me think and say, if you are not healed, it's nothing that you can do. You have to come from a healed place to have a relationship, and a relationship where you can be able to, you're strengthening the both of you. If
Sure.
You're not strengthened, you definitely can't help strengthen anyone else.
Well, so there's that saying, Melanie, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And that's been around for decades probably at this point. But, what kind of things are you really facing as far as the challenges? Because, I'm Gen X, and my kids, these folks is different today. So how are you kind of bringing those different generations together, and what maybe are some of the difficulties that you find with these different mindsets and thoughts with the different generations?
With the different generations, you got like people of my generation. We're just starting to open up, because at one point of time I used to be like, never. I'm not going to talk about this. Just like case in point, when I was going through my divorce, I was like, I'm not telling anybody. That's embarrassing. But it wasn't myself. It was the Holy Spirit that says, this is your testimony. I allowed you to go through this so that you can help others when they go through it as well. So that's what I'm like, well, Lord, I don't even know where to begin. And so this is when he started putting people in my life that would say, okay, Melanie, you're doing this, let me help you. So it was just like, once I was going through my divorce, God just opened up doors. People was coming to me. They would see me at my business writing, because I started writing my books. going through the divorce, and people would say, "Oh, you're writing? Well, what else are you doing? Can I help you do this, or can I help you do this?" And then one of my clients was like, "Did you know I was a PR person and this?" And I'm like, "No, I did not."
You know what's
I never knew
interesting
exactly
too,
what you
because I think
did.
so many of us have gone through, the hardships and, whether it's
Yes,
been divorce or other things, and we try and hide that and cover up when
yes.
a lot of times that really becomes our superpower because we are able to really talk about it with people that are dealing with that and share that story. And I think that's really important about what you do. How are you finding it with you and your clients and your businesses? How important is that sharing of the story, and what have you seen happen from that?
Well, from my story, because I can open up. I remember talking to a child whose mother had gone through a divorce, and being able to talk to that child, letting them know, hey, even though my kids were grown, I had just had a son that was graduating from college. I still, from a divorce point of view, the kids also need to be heard. They are also part of that relationship. It's not, it just depends on the how many kids you got. It's not just you, me, and that child. It's the three of us, or it's the four of us. It's the family, because that family, those kids make up that family, and we each have a voice, and they all need to be heard. And even with this younger generation, they also need to be heard, and they are the ones that goes forth to say, hey, they are putting everything out there on TikTok
Oh my
or
gosh.
Instagram.
Yeah, they are.
So you better open up. You better open up and have these hard conversations. You need to. That actually starts the healing process. The conversations.
Okay.
And if you don't know how, then that's where the therapy and the counseling and the coaching that I myself do, that's where that comes in. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I am a coach. And there is a big difference from that. But I can tell you this, you need to see and talk to someone so that you can get what you need to be able to move forth in your life.
Absolutely. I mean, Melanie, what was the genesis of all of this for you? How did this and why did this happen? Why did this begin for you?
Why did the organizations and all of that begin?
Hmm.
In the midst of me going through a divorce. I've said this 1,000 times, that my daughter, she came over to pray for my son and myself, when in the midst of me going through the divorce, when I was so used to praying for my children. And at that particular time, I was just so devastated. And so when she came over, and I heard the Holy Spirit say, your bond is being strengthened. And I was like, okay, okay. I didn't know what that meant until as I continued to, because during a divorce process, that takes time. And during that time, the Holy Spirit was like, okay, now it's time for you to start this organization, because you need to bring mothers and daughters together to help strengthen your bond. Now, I know I needed it, because I felt like that my mother may be upset with me if I say this, but I have to be honest. I just felt like I needed more of her time when I was going through my divorce. We lived in two different states. I can put it like that. We lived in two different states, and I wanted her. It would have been nice if she could have been there with me during
Okay.
that particular time, me going through my divorce. But she wasn't. Now, was I upset? Absolutely, I was upset. But it took a conversation. But also, we had to sit down and think about, did she really know how to be there for me? Because her and my dad is still married. So it's like, it's all about a conversation to be had. So, with
Definitely is.
that being said, I had to form this organization. And this is why God wanted me to form this organization, because to
Well, you
bring
probably
mothers
went
and
through those
daughters.
things even with your mom. That was part of the preparation, you
Yeah,
know? That's
yeah,
what all the hard stuff that so many times we try to avoid is the
yes.
very thing. I had a very close friend that said decades ago at this point, when I was complaining about some things in the hardness of life, and this person just said, it's for your making, son. It was an older person.
Hmm.
And I was in my 20s. And he just said, it's for your making, son. So just
Yes,
stop complaining about it, because this is how you're going to be made in the fire.
yes, yes, yes.
You know,
And it's you. Here's the thing. I always think about when you're going through those turbulent times, it always reminds me of being on a plane because I fly a lot. So being on a plane, and as you know, as life goes, when the first takeoff is kind of smooth and it can be rocky, but it's kind of smooth. But then stuff happens just so fast. Life happens so fast. And then that's when we hit that turbulence. Life can be very turbulent, but then somewhere along the way, it kind of smooths out. So life smooths out, because we're not going to go through the storm forever. But we also have to be able to be that testimony for someone else who's coming behind us or maybe going through that storm. And I will always say, I didn't even know how many people that was going through a divorce until after I was going through a divorce. And how many kids, that was being affected until I wrote one of the first books that God had me to pick up my pen and paper and write in regards to that divorce, not in regards to my divorce, because he told me not to write about mine, but to write about a child going through a divorce with their parents. And because my kids were grown, but that kid was affected. So I'm like, okay, Lord, how am I going to do this? And he gave me the words to say throughout the whole book. And so this child, his parents was going through a divorce and it was so much stuff done. And I had to actually think of it as, okay, if this child was my kid's age going through a divorce and we're going through this divorce, what would my kids say? What would they do? What would their reactions be? And it would be scary for them. First of all, they probably would think, a lot of them think that, hey, is it my fault?
Right.
No, it's
You
not
get
your
that. You
fault.
see that a lot, with
Yes.
kids trying to own something
Yes.
about something
Something
that's
that
going
is
on with
so much
grown
bigger than
folks.
them. It doesn't even belong to them.
Yeah.
And there's so much that's going on. So this is why God had me to start writing. This is why my organization started. Everything that I do started in the midst of my divorce. And I'm like, okay, Lord, you basically rescued me from being, from out of the fire. At least I was not burned, because you was like, okay, I'm molding you. I'm allowing you to go through this, and I'm going to mold you, and I'm going to shape you, and I'm going to put you up here so that you can be able to do these things to help those who needs the help.
Well, what we're going to do, we're going to take a short break right here. I'm
Okay.
with Melanie D. Phillips, best-selling author, and I love the title because I've never seen it, The Life Shift Coach. And we're going to take this short break, and we're going to be right back after this. Are you ready to share your story with an audience eager to learn from your journey? Welcome to the Earl Hall Show, the podcast where entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, and creatives share their unique insights and experiences. With over 15,000 subscribers on YouTube and episodes promoted on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, your story will reach an engaged and growing audience. As a guest, you'll join me for a 20-minute pre-recorded video interview aired every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Book your spot now for just $49. This offer won't last long. The Earl Hall Show. Your story deserves to be heard. In today's fast-paced world, success often feels like a numbers game. Bank accounts, titles, prestige. But what if true success went deeper than that? I'm Earl Hall, author of Mind Your Business, a new book that invites you to look beyond just profiles and into what really drives you as an entrepreneur. Mind Your Business isn't just about making money. It's about understanding your purpose, overcoming self-doubt, and cultivating a mindset that's resilient and grounded. I've built this book on hard-earned insights, stories from my journey, and lessons from other entrepreneurs like you. This book will help you shift your perspective, ignite your passion, and align your business with what truly matters. So, if you're ready to redefine success, Mind Your Business is available. Let's take this journey together. Grab your copy and start building a business and a life that reflects your true self. All right, and welcome back to the Earl Hall Show. Once again, I'm here with best-selling author Melanie D. Phillips and also the Life Shift Coach. Melanie, I want to hear about this 8 F's framework. Can you tell us about that and what's involved with it?
Yes. The 8 F's is finance. Because even with Strengthen the Bond, where I'm dealing with mothers and daughters, and even with people that's going through the divorce, you got to make sure, especially divorce, you got to make sure your finances are in order. Because a
Hmm.
lot of times you are working with, your spouse. You both come together, you work together, you have a home or whatever you may have. There may be monies that's connected together, like your bank accounts and all of
Sure.
that. And a lot of the bills may be, the mortgage or whatever. You're not dealing with two no more. Now it depends on if if you're getting support, spousal support, or if it depends. However, you still got to figure out, it's no longer that person, I'm by myself,
Right.
and how can I go forward? So that means that you may have to have a budget. You may
Right.
have to start saving. You may have to start doing some things. You may have to start doing some investing. You may have to start doing things that need to be done. And also, you may need to seek therapy. And that's part of your
Mm.
finances as well. And that also goes with strengthen the bond with mothers and daughters. You may, with that finance piece, you may need to seek therapy. You may need to seek coaching. You may need to get the help, so that, especially if you think that there's no problem, or especially if you don't even, you don't know how to go forward with mending your relationship with your daughter. You have to make sure that you get the proper help that you need. So that's the one. Finance is it's a huge piece. Then
What
you're
are the other
talking about
seven?
your, huh?
What are the other seven? You got
Okay, it's
finance. What else?
finance, fear,
Okay.
future, fitness. Because
Come
if
on with
you're
it.
not in shape, if, as the Lord said, you got to make sure your temple belongs to me. And a lot
Hmm.
of people think that, hey, my body is my own. Our body belongs to the Lord, and we got to make sure we take care of that temple as well, so that we can be able to do certain things. We can move forward, because the hospital is full of people with things that has come on through stress and not working out. And I'm not talking about those things that is, that's not caused by that, but we talk about diabetes, high
Right.
blood pressure, and all of that, because of the stress that you may go through. So you got fitness, so you got finance, your future, fear, forgiveness.
Come on.
Forgiveness is huge.
Yeah,
You
I
have
believe
to
that. I
forgive.
believe that.
If you don't forgive others of their trespasses, then God will not forgive you. So you have to start forgiving. But then here's the thing.
Well, let
Do
me
you
interject
know
something there,
how?
because I think even with forgiveness to me is more for you as the individual, as opposed to the person that you're forgiving, because you have to be able to let it go.
Yes.
You have to let it go so you can move on.
Yes. You have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself first. But then you also have to forgive the other person. You have to, because people grow old being bitter. I have seen
Well, I've seen it. Yes, I've seen it.
being bitter and angry, and then they're trying to figure out, well, what happened. So yeah, no. So then you need your family. Sometimes your family are not going to be there with you. Sometimes there may be something may go on in a family. Someone may take sides, so the family that you came into the relationship with
Yeah,
may no longer be there.
right.
So you have to, that's a big thing. And then your faith plays a big role. It played a huge role for me. I could not get through anything without my faith. I thought I had a great relationship with the Lord, but I found out that in the midst of that particular storm, I had to build a closer relationship with him, where I had to sit down and be in my prayer closet and just pray and talk to God, and then let him talk back to me,
Okay.
and be able to listen to him, and, not move off of fear, but move by my faith. And then you got your friends.
Mm,
Some friend, you do need a circle. Even if it's one, you need a circle of friends, or somebody that can get around you, that when you are so empty, or when you are devastated, somebody can pour into you, because you need, and it goes back to the faith in your family. You need that pouring back into. You can be so busy, have poured out into someone else during your time, then it's like, now I need this. I need someone to
Right.
pour into me because I don't know what to do next. So you need that. So those are the 8 F's.
Well, Melanie, and that is all impressive with that, and it means a lot. And I know you took a lot of time to kind of work through that and build those F's out for
Yes.
you. And this kind of, I mean, this sparks this question for me. What do you think is your greatest strength, and how has it served your work?
My greatest strength, I'm going to say this, my greatest strength is learning how to forgive. Because if I do not forgive, first of all, let me say this, and it goes with forgiveness. When I was going through my divorce and I didn't know how to forgive, when God told me, you have to start forgiving. And I'm like, Lord, you got to show me how to forgive. And you know, the first thing the Holy Spirit said, let's not talk about him right now. Let's start talking about you, the things that you've done in your past that you need to forgive yourself, and also people need to forgive you for. Then he started showing me of some of the things that I had done back in my past, as far back as when I was in school. I'm like, oh my God, Lord, I am so sorry. So I cannot
Mm,
expect to have him to forgive me when I can't forgive someone else. So forgiveness is so important. Now, again, some of this is forgiveness is for yourself.
of
But
course.
even when you have done wrong to someone else, you need to be able to at least try to forgive,
Yeah.
have them, you want their forgiveness as well. You do want their forgiveness. You do want their forgiveness. I
Yes, you
know I
do.
do. If I've hurt you or said something, offended you in some type of way and did not know it, I expect for you to say, hey, Melanie, you really offended me. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's have a conversation because I didn't know that I did. So
Sometimes
that
you
is
don't.
one thing.
Sometimes you honestly don't know that you've offended someone in word or deed.
Yes.
So it's good to keep the air clean.
Yes.
Melanie, tell me, I mean, from your books to your coaching, how do people reach out to you? Like, how do they get in touch with you? How do they find out more?
They can find out more if they go to, I can keep it simple because you can go to strengthenthebond.com, but you can always go to Melanie D. Phillips.com. And from that page, it would take you, you can go to any tab that you want to go to find Strengthen the Bond, to find Melanie's Pen, where I do a lot of blogging, to go through to the Destiny Shop. And, even for my ghost writing that I do a lot of ghost writing. I'm an author. I do ghost writing. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. um,
Well,
and also you can find me on Instagram, Strengthen the Bond on Instagram. And also you can find me on Facebook, Melanie Richardson Phillips, without the hyphen in the middle of Richardson and Phillips, because my page was once hacked and I had
boy.
to close down so many pages, my business pages and all of that. So now I'm just really rebuilding back up because of the hackers. So in order for some people to find me, I just took the hyphen out so I wouldn't have to create a whole different
Yeah,
name change.
understood. Yeah.
Yeah. So until I jump on TikTok, which I plan on doing soon, this is where you can find me on Instagram and on my website and on Facebook. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Melanie, thank you so much for being a guest on the Earl Hall Show today. This has been very informative. And I just really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us today.
Thank you, Earl, and thank you so much for having me.
You're more than welcome. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you leave your comments and questions for Melanie, and we'll see you on the next episode. You take care.